What's up, y'all? Happy Saturday. I was going through it earlier. I'm not even gonna lie. It's one of those things where you can feel like you're good, everything is good, and then one thing can happen to you and it just sets you off in a way that you didn't expect it to. And for me, that thing was my friend's funeral. I already knew that he had passed. The funeral happened maybe a month after he passed. So that part, it wasn't like it just happened this week. It happened last month. But to actually sit in that building and then to be in there and the person is in their early 30s and it's unexpected, that's rough. So really, it was a chain of events that happened. I mean, obviously that part of it was sad and just, ooh. Actually, there was a cousin of my friend who was very close to him that I became familiar with through him. And I actually, I wouldn't say befriended her, but we were friendly. And we were following each other, social media and everything. And I got a call to a couple of days or maybe the day of that he passed. And let's see. Yeah, I think I got a call the day of. And it was like, hey, Len, you know that Tyrone passed. And I was like, what? The same person that I know? And it was a shock. So I didn't know how I was going to get the information about a funeral or anything like that. But ended up getting it. And then when I heard that cousin speak at the funeral, it was rough. Well, when I heard everyone speak, because you get to know somebody as an individual sometimes, like if it's a coworker or something like that, but you don't necessarily know their family, and you don't know their I mean, you hear about their family sometimes, but you don't actually know them on a personal level. So to hear all their stories about him was heartbreaking, to say the least. And obviously, this time of year is hard for me already because here we are, like another holiday without my dad, and it's so tough, man. I feel like I'm happy for the people that do have the opportunity to spend the holidays as a complete unit with their whole family, like those can be beautiful times, but it's not that for me anymore. It's maybe one day I'm going to develop some semblance of a holiday again. Thank you for the jewels. I assume that was you who sent that, Charicity. I don't know, because it doesn't actually show me who sends the jewels. Like when somebody sends a super chat or super thanks, super sticker, it actually shows me so and so sent you this. But for jewels, it doesn't show me anything. I just see the jewels in the corner. But yeah, I actually remember I used to lead groups. Back when I was doing counseling, I used to lead groups. And when we got to this time of year, there was people who told me that they eat Chinese food and watch like kung fu movies. And not that I judged them, but I was just like, oh, man, it's Christmas. It's Christmas and you're eating Chinese food and you're eating Chinese food and watching kung fu movies. Like, what kind of Christmas is that? Trust me, now I get it. Because they don't have the family anymore. You know, so it's not the same. It's not quite the same. And there are some staples of my family unit that are just not there anymore. And it makes you sad when they're not there. So to even try to create some semblance of that is difficult. So that's why sometimes they recommend and suggest for you to try to find something else. Try to find like a new routine and a new tradition. I don't have mine. Talking to people about Christmas this year is hard. I mean, I've never been a Christmas person, but Christmas has never made me feel this way specifically before this year. Last year was a little bit of a buffer because we ended up going to my grandma's house. So I wasn't thinking about it so much because I'm like, I get to see my grandma at Christmas for the first time in years. I'll finish the story in a minute. My bros are even gone this year. They're gone as in you lost them? Funerals like that are even... And I've been to, 3 of them this year. Was it 3 or was it 2? Could have been 2. I might be lying. Could have been 2. Could have been 2. Give me 1 second. First Christmas is out of state. Okay, because I was about to say that's super rough. I mean, it's rough anyways, but that would have been super rough. Hi. Thank you. Yes, please. Alright. I don't like talking about those things when I'm in the store. Sorry, I would take a pause. Alright, so yeah, it's never hit me like, it didn't hit me like this. Oh, sorry about that, Charicity, by the way. I know that must be awful. But what I was saying is last year it didn't hit me so hard because I told my immediate family that's remaining, my mom and my sister, I said, maybe we could go to Canada this Christmas and spend Christmas at grandma's house. I hadn't spent a Christmas at my grandma's house before last year since, what year? I want to say it was in the 90s. I think the last time I had spent a Christmas in my grandma's house was in the late 90s. And then I think I spent one more with her when she came to our house in 2001 or something like that. So it had been over 20 years since the last Christmas I spent with my grandma. So just the happiness that I felt of being able to just wake up and give her a hug on Christmas Day. And also we had a mini family reunion also. Like some of my cousins came by and it was nice. But this Christmas, we had a choice actually, or I had a choice rather, because I went to Canada in October for a race around my birthday. Then November, my grandma had her 90th birthday party. So they suggested like, hey, maybe we could go back again. But listen, maybe next year my financials are going to be a little better and I could afford 3 trips in 3 months. But at this stage in the game, it just wasn't going to happen. So I had to resolve myself that it's just going to be the 3 of us. And my dad was such a big presence. He was such a big presence of a person. Y'all don't even understand. Like Christmas time, you know, he loved Christmas. We would get all these different invites to all these different people's houses. We go to different parties. Shoot. There'd be things in church that I would go to because he worked for the church. There was different things that I would attend with him. You know, he was such a huge, he's such a huge presence, and it's so quiet without him because none of us are like that. I'm not like that. As much as you see me kind of step out of my shell a little bit here and there, he didn't have a shell. I mean, apparently from what I've heard about him before I was born, he had a little bit of a shell. But from the time I've been alive and here, I haven't seen that. I never saw that shell. He was so outgoing and just, I remember at different things he would play Santa Claus and he would give these speeches and he would do all this stuff. And it's just like a very somber time without him here. It's so somber. I don't even want to think about Christmas. I wish I could just skip ahead a couple of weeks and then just call it a year. Just being honest. My bros and I, and this funeral got me in my feelings like that because I wasn't even really thinking about it so much until I sat there for this funeral. Like, rough. It was so rough. You brought that side out of him. I don't know. I mean, I think he was just like that. I think he was just like that on his own. He's his own entity. But that's not even what I was planning to talk about. That was just, it's funny, I title these things a certain thing, and then once I actually hop on the camera, that's not what ends up coming out. So, 16 minute, almost 16-minute timestamp. Is this a new restaurant? It must be. Nice. The day you plant the seed is not the same day that you eat the fruit. I got to thinking as I started going through my footage from yesterday, my challenge footage. And I don't know what I'm doing with that, with this challenge stuff. Like, when you do something for a little while and it doesn't succeed, I don't know, for me, you stop thinking about the possibility of success. I mean, that's just me. I'm not saying that I didn't think I could ever succeed, but there's a difference between thinking that something is going to succeed and just doing something just to do it. And so after 2 years of putting out challenge content, like my Big Brother content, I started to make a little bit of a dent in this Big Brother content, because at the very least, I'm well known in the Big Brother community, even if my page isn't what I would like it to be in terms of viewership. There's like, I go out to Big Brother events and a lot of people tend to know who I am at those Big Brother events. Oh, you're Mark and this is your channel. The first time that happened to me, it tripped me out. But I've had at least a few people at each event say, man, you're one of my favorite Big Brother channels. And I'm like, wow, you actually know my channel? Matter of fact, that this challenge thing that I just went to, somebody asked me to take a picture of me and said that they remember me. One person asked me if I was on the challenge before, and I was like, no. I wish I was on the challenge, but no, I wasn't on the challenge. But here's the reason why I'm saying that. And I'm gonna go sit in my car just because I'm not driving anywhere this time. But I like sitting in my car. My car has become my home. You know, like Oscar the Grouch, living in his garbage can. And I'm cold. That's the other part of the equation. Okay. All right. Get to these comments. Yeah, so I remember 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago even, before I was really into Big Brother, I was trying to make a successful challenge page. Not a mental health page, not a reality TV page where I talk about different reality TV shows, just a challenge page. So I started putting out challenge recaps and nobody was watching them. And then I was like, I want to do some challenge interviews. So I sent out a series of messages. I sent out a message to CT. I sent out a message to like Darrell. I sent a message to Coro, if y'all remember Coro from back in the day. I sent a message to, who are some of the prominent women that I liked at that time? Emily, Nerys, Olivia. I tried to get Olivia right after Ride or Die's season. Anissa. They didn't even respond to me. And some of them I actually met, like Anissa, Olivia, like some of them I actually met in person. And when I sent them the messages on whatever platform, they didn't even answer me. And I was like, wow, I get no love in this challenge community. I was like, nobody watches my content for that. Now I've even started to meet some of them, and it's just like, cool, you're a fan, So it's like I get no love. So coming back around to this day you plant the day you plant the seed is not the day you eat the fruit. Sorry for this roundabout way of my explanation, right? I was talking to Ayana from the challenge earlier today, and she said that, I told her we both have the same problem of trying to make a point, but then we make a very roundabout explanation instead of going straight to the point. But shout out to y'all for hanging in there and listening to me when I do that, because that's every day at this point. So to make a long story short-ish, right? I mentioned this yesterday, but I reached out to Cara Maria. This is before she came on season 39 as a mercenary. This is before All Stars 4 and before season 40. This is when she was taking a long hiatus from the challenge. People say different reasons. I remember on Wes's Patreon, he mentioned that Cara had said something about production, and also Cara was upset about the fact that they took Paulie off of a season, Total Madness, that he was supposed to be on. But then he made some comments on his social media about some of the cast. And then the cast campaigned, like Johnny Bananas and some others campaigned for him not to be on the show. And then they took him off. And it was kind of like they're a package deal at that time. If he's not going to be on, I'm not going to be on. And she had this beef with production, I guess, or whoever it was that she had a problem with, that had to be cleared before she could come back on the show. But anyways, in between that time, I sent her a message that I don't think went directly to her, but went to her management team. Excuse me. Where, I basically was like, you're my favorite female challenger of all time. And I admire your resilience of going in on those earlier seasons and being bullied and being like not included and called weird and all this other stuff, and kind of sticking in there and becoming, I think, a 2-time challenge champ and making multiple finals and stuff, and just gaining her confidence and her voice. Like, look at her today compared to the person that she was when the show started. This is what I told her the first time that I met her. I was like, it's been amazing to just follow your journey from the beginning and see you now having come into your own as a person, right? So, but essentially, when I spoke to that management person, I was like, I would love to interview Cara and talk about that journey and talk about it from a mental health perspective. Like, what was it like for you from a mental health standpoint, going on this TV show and then having these experiences where your castmates didn't accept you and you were the oddball. And I remember her wearing those multicolored socks and her outfits, and people making fun of her red hair, and I remember all that. Because you look at her now and you're like, oh, look at Kara's cult. Some people talk about Kara's cult and the fandom, how the fandom shows her so much love and how she's kind of untouchable. And you look at her on her social medias and she's so confident and strong. And it's something that she grew into. If you've been following the show, she was not like that. She grew into it, and she seems to be in such a great space mentally. So I really did want to talk to her about that. And so I made that an interview request, and it was heartfelt, right? So I get a message back from her manager, not directly from her, but from that manager, that said, at the moment, unfortunately, Cara Maria is not doing, I don't remember if they said not doing interviews at all, or it might have just been she's not doing challenge interviews. I think that might have been it. I'm desperately trying to find that message because I want to show it to her. But whatever the case was, maybe it was challenge interviews. Cara Maria is not doing challenge interviews at the moment because she's taking a break from having that presence for her mental health, basically. And but she said kudos. She said that Cara Maria said kudos to you for what you do, because that's badass. And I was disappointed. I know that I could have looked at that and been like, that's a compliment that she said that, but I was actually more like, man, I really wanted this interview. And that was about 3 years ago. So I said to myself, nah, some things are just not meant to happen. I guess some things are just not meant to happen. That's the most I'm ever going to get from her. And then that was it. Wasn't thinking about it anymore. Then she comes back on for season 39 as for one episode as the mercenary. And then she does All Stars, and then she does now she's on season 40, right? I still wasn't thinking that I'm ever going to do this interview. That was way out of my mind. Way out of my mind. Right? And then I'm just sitting down one day. This is almost a similar arc of what happened with Sam. I'm just sitting down one day looking at I was looking at her Instagram, and she says, I'm going to be in New York, I think next week, for a fibroids awareness event. I said to myself, I literally asked somebody, you think it's weird if I go to a fibroids event just to meet her? I mean, I took the information as well, but I was just like, as far as I know, I can't get fibroids. So, the event would not be pertinent really to me specifically. Maybe it would help me understand someone who has it. But mainly my primary purpose of going to that thing, was to meet her. And they said, no, absolutely not. That might be a good opportunity for you to actually meet her, and who knows when you might get another chance. So I said, oh, you know what, you're right. So went over to that event. The experience I had ended up being even better than going to a challenge event. Number one, way cheaper. Number two, nobody was standing there with a timer telling me you have X amount of time to talk to her, because it wasn't her event. She was a part of the event. Angela Yee from Power 105.1 was there. There was like a bunch of people from was it Bad Girls Club? There was like a bunch of popular reality TV stars from other shows. So not saying she wasn't popular, but she wasn't like the top person that anyone was trying to see from what I saw. She was a person that some people came to see, but I had my time. I got to take my time. I stood there until the conversation was done. That was essentially it. And at that point in time, no, I'm not going to say I wasn't thinking interview. Yes, I had it back in my mind. I said, maybe when I see her, I could ask about an interview. So I saw her, I spoke to her, you saw the videos and stuff. I did ask her about an interview. She said to me, I would love to do an interview for your channel, but my time is extremely limited. She said, I'm doing so much traveling. I'm going to California, then I'm going to Paris, then I'm doing this and this and that. Be back in Florida for a little bit, going here, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. She got a busy schedule. So I was like, the key part is not that she said, I can't do it right now. The key part is that she said, yes, I will do it. I would love to do it. That's the key part. Because that's what Wes said to me when I asked him. Even though it took me a year to get that interview from him. Right? So, very long story. To wrap up a pretty long story. Why is this not warm? To wrap up a pretty long story, then I see that she's coming to New York for Challenge Mania. And I was like, I'm gonna go to Challenge Mania. I'm gonna figure something out. I'm gonna be Carl. I decided at the last minute I'm gonna be Carl. Went to the event, and from there, I asked y'all, I was like, do you think it's worth the money to pay for the interview? Because she does have an option on her page to pay to interview her. And y'all were like, do it. You should do it. So because of that, I decided to do it. And now as I'm thinking back, 3 years ago, was when I asked for the first time. I got a no. The answer was simply no. It wasn't yes, it wasn't later, it wasn't maybe, it was N-O. And I was discouraged. I said, this thing is never going to happen. And somehow, some way, I just kept at it. I kept doing different things. I kept going to events. And then the opportunity actually came back around and popped up 3 years later. It's like a surreal. It's actually surreal for me to think about. This means a lot to me. It actually means a lot to me because, like I said at the beginning of this, I've been doing so many things. I've been going so many places. I've been sending out so many DMs. Y'all have seen I've done probably about 10, 11 interviews. I have sent out about hundreds. I've sent out hundreds, literally hundreds of requests to get those 10 to 11 interviews that I got. And those interviews I got happened in a similar fashion, too. Where I asked all these different people and they said, no, 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 no. And then all of a sudden, I reached a period of time where I'm like, I'm preparing for an interview every month. I interviewed, I think this was last year at this point, 2023. I interviewed Alyssa Lopez, January. I interviewed Chaz from The Circle, March. I interviewed Sam from The Circle a couple months after that. I interviewed Hannah from Big Brother. I interviewed Turner the same week that I interviewed Hannah. Matter of fact, that was an impromptu interview. I got Shuby, if I didn't mention that one. Shuby was right after Turner. Wes, Mr. Bergman. I had a second interview with Wes Bergman, and it was an exclusive one at that, because nobody was getting interviews from him at that time. It just happened to work out for me at that time. But I'm thinking, like, going into the new year, I'm gonna have a fresh start. I'm gonna have this car interview. There's gonna be some things that I feel like are gonna pop off. I don't know what those things are just yet, because they haven't happened yet. But the day you plant the seed is not the day you eat the fruit. Don't feel like because you are doing a whole bunch of different things and you're not seeing an immediate result or reaping those benefits from that thing immediately, that nothing is happening. There's a season for planting the seeds, and there's a season for reaping the harvest of those seeds that you planted. So if you're doing a lot of things and you don't feel like you're getting a lot of results, just keep going with them. Great things take time. You've got to make a game plan. You've got to be prepared for a lot of things that you plan to not pop off for you right away. But eventually, when the timing is right, things are going to happen in unexpected ways. When I wanted to get this interview with Sam last year, nobody really knows why that interview means a lot to me. I mean, they know a lot of reasons why, but I don't think that I've told this story in this way. I told Sam this story. I think I might have told her a little bit on camera, but I told her off camera, really. I said, while I was watching your season of The Circle, my father was dying. He was in hospice care. So I remember those Circle episodes being the highlight of my life at that time, because I was just going through it every day, every week. And when those episodes of The Circle would drop, Sam would have me laughing. I would just be cracking up every time she said something. And then I still remember finale night. The last episode of season 5. And Chaz and Raven were in the lead for most of the season. I was like, I wish Sam would pull this off, because she's such a regular person, and I mean that in a complimentary way. Just like I say for Hannah, I mean that in a complimentary way, meaning like this is somebody who has now been on TV, but they don't seem like a rehearsed TV person. It's just, this is like their persona is just them. So I said, you know what, Sam lives in New York. So I think that for some reason I have a feeling that it won't be that hard to get an interview with Sam, because she's here in New York. I'm like, she just won. Sorry about that. She still lives here. I'm sure she's going to have like a meet and greet or something that she's going to hold here where I'm going to be able to meet her. I started following her social media. I messaged her DM'd her on there, and I also sent her management team an email, her management team of the time. I sent an email, never got any response. I sent a couple of emails, I sent a couple DMs, never got responses. And then I saw different pictures of fans meeting her, but they weren't meeting her really at events. They were just meeting her randomly in Brooklyn and other places in New York because she lives there. She lives there. But I'm like, what am I gonna do? Go to Brooklyn and look around for her? Like, where is Sam? Does anyone know where Sam is? So I was like, my chances of meeting her and speaking to her, I felt like were really dwindling big time. Months and months were going by, and then I said, you know what? It's not even meant for me to meet her. It's okay. It's cool. As much as I would have wanted that interview, it's just not going to happen. But lo and behold, I had a race coming up. I had a race. I think it was a Spartan race coming up on a Saturday. On Friday, I happened to go on her Instagram and it said, Sam is hosting this party in Brooklyn. And I was like, maybe I should go. I didn't really feel like going because it was a Friday. I was tired and I had a race in the morning. But I was like, you know what? I've been waiting for this chance to meet Sam, and it's been 5 months since the show got off the air, and I have never seen her advertised being anywhere else. So let me just get up and go just so I can meet her and try to make this interview happen. So I went over there. The event said it was from, I want to say from 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. It didn't say what time she was getting there though, but it said 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. But I wanted to get in there and kind of get out as early as possible. So I got there about 9:30 or so. No Sam. No sign of Sam. Nobody announcing Sam is coming. I'm looking around. I think I asked somebody there, when is Sam coming? They said they don't know. So I'm there 9:30, 10:30, 11:30. I'm tired at this point. 12:30. I'm tired. I was there 3 hours. And I was like, don't tell me she's going to put this thing on the flyer. I'm going to come all the way out to Brooklyn and she's not even coming. 1:30, she kind of casually strolls in there. And I look, I'm like, there she is. Nobody else looked. It was like nobody knew who she was except me. It seemed that way. Like nobody was like, oh my God, it's Sam. She wasn't announced like, hey, Sam is in the building. She just walked in. I guess they probably just used her name to sell tickets to get in there. And she was there with, I think, some of her cousins and some friends, and they went into the VIP section, and I was waiting for her to come out of the VIP section, and she didn't. And then eventually I went over to her after, 4 hours of waiting for her. She was like, you're here for me? I said, yeah, I'm here for you. I brought her this thing that I had made for her, like this picture collage of her on the circle and like the little caption that I had wrote on it. It's still on my page. That whole incident, I don't want to call it an incident. I don't know why I said incident. That whole situation is on my page. So I said to her, that I was a fan of hers, and then I was like, I interviewed Chaz before I even got out anything else about I want to do to do an interview with you. She was like, whatever you need from me, you got it. She was like, you want to interview me? You want me to co-host an event with you? Do you want to do an in-person interview? I got you. I was like, wow, that was easy. When I tell you the way that I had to beg and grovel for these people to do interviews with me, usually, the only people I didn't have to do that with were John Brennan and her. Like, that's the only two people that said yes so fast. And I was like, I can't believe that was that. I thought that she was gonna be like, talk to my management team. I don't know that, but she even offered to do it in person. And let's see. What am I trying to say here? I'm trying to think of this timeline. I think my dad had already passed. He had. He had, because that was May, and my dad had passed in April. And when he passed, I took a break off of my page, and I wasn't so enthused to do this interview as I was when I first saw her win the season, and I wanted to ask her then. But I was like, you know what? Let me just keep going and let me just do it anyway. Let me just ask her anyways. Like, even though I'm not really in that mental space right now, maybe I can find it again, because who knows? And honestly, if I hadn't gotten that interview right then, I wouldn't have got it. I just based on the timeline of how things have been going in my life and her life, I would not have gotten that interview at all. So I'm so glad that I did that. And on the day of the interview, I remember waking up and being just disheveled and depressed. And I don't remember if I said this on this channel. Might have, I might not have. But knowing me, I might not have, because as vulnerable as I can be at times, I'm not totally fully vulnerable on this internet, because I always am concerned about what that is gonna make me look like. I cried in the morning of the interview before I went there. The reason why is because I woke up and I felt really depressed. This was less than 2 months after losing my dad when we did this interview. And I was like, I asked for this opportunity, and I'm getting this opportunity, and it's something that I should be really happy and excited for, but I don't feel that way. I feel like, what am I doing here? I feel like I'm not in the mental space to do this. I feel like I wish that this could be done at some later time. I feel like I don't know if I had the passion to even continue with the channel, and I felt like this rush of emotions that morning. And I'm like, why would I feel this today of all days? I like to feel in a fresh, good mindset and in a positive space. And then, some things were going wrong that morning too. And I was like, but what if I didn't show up? I mean, I would lose the opportunity of a lifetime. That's what I've thought of that as. Because it was my first in-person interview with any of these people. Hi, Brian. I appreciate that, Charicity. So I remember I wiped the tears off. And I was like, let's just go out there and get to it. And if you see all my videos of that day, there's nothing about that. I said nothing about that. I just continued on normal, like it was a good day. It was a regular day. It didn't start out as a good day. And then I missed my train that I was supposed to get on to get there, because I was trying to get out quick. I got the next train, and then I made it out there. Sam hits me up on Instagram. She said, I got to the spot and I don't see you. I panicked. I was like, did I send her the wrong address? And then I was like, I'm here. This is the name of the coffee shop. This is what it looks like. She's like sending me pictures of where she is. It looks nothing like where I am. My heart was racing. I was like, what else can go wrong? Eventually, I video called her, and we were able to find out that she was just like a block away. I don't know how that happened, but she was a block away. So that calms me down a little bit. Then, like I told you guys, you know this part. Videographer shows up 45 minutes late and all that other stuff. But I felt, even after I got to her and met up with her, I felt so anxious that day just because of, prior things, thinking about my dad and thinking about just the mental space that I was in, and the conversation that we had before the videographer got there put me in an amazing mental space. When I tell you, it took me from where I was to a whole different place where I didn't even feel sad anymore. And I don't think it was even anything really particular about that conversation. It was just that when I met her and when I spoke to her, it just had a calming effect on me. And then when we got into this interview, and I was stressing about how are we going to make this happen? How is it going to look? Is all my hard work going to translate? It started raining heavily during the interview. That was another thing. And it was raining so heavy. It impacted the sound. I still hate that part. But anyways, it got done regardless. You could still hear it despite the fact that it was rain in the background. But anyways, after that, it was so uplifting for me and such a boost to my spirits. I'm like, even though this didn't happen in the time frame, if you could see where I'm going, even if I'm long-winded with what I'm saying, everything has a theme to it. This is all following that same theme. It didn't happen when I wanted it to happen in January, February. It happened about 6 to 7 months later. But the time that it happened was the right time. This car interview that I wanted to do in 2021, listen, if I had emailed her in 2021, which I did, and got a response, hey, Cara is ready to do this interview with you, what am I going to talk to her about in 2021? I guess I'm going to talk to her about her history on the show, because she was actively taking a break from the show. She was on a long break from the show, and when we last saw her, she was going through some things. And then secondly, I don't know her at all. I don't have any rapport, so my questions are just going to be the average questions that anyone could ask. How did you feel on this season? What did you feel like when you won? What happened when you were fighting with Tori? What happened when it was for this and this and that? Whatever. She and I are both in different spaces in our lives right now. Now I've actually gotten a chance to meet her, build a rapport, and have several conversations with her. Now she's back on the show, and she has a different arc. So even though the time that I asked her, I was so disappointed and I thought this was never going to come around again, it came around again. And I think I have more things that I can talk to her about, and I think that she'll frankly give me a much better interview today than what she would have given me at that time, when she didn't even have an option to meet the fans. And I mean, not that she was never meeting fans, but now that's part of her business. She wasn't doing that before. She's a different person and I'm a different person, and I think that now is the right time. Even though I felt like that was the right time, it wasn't the right time. The day you plant the seed is not the day you eat the fruit. Listen, I'm giving you guys free gems because this is about to become my next event. I've done 2 speaking events, and everything I'm saying right now is about to become my 3rd speaking event. I don't know what I'm going to title it, but it's going to be about perseverance, and it's going to be about the right time. When is the right time? You never know when the right time is. Sometimes when you get that no, there was a reason for you to get that no at that time. And you're not going to know the reason for that no until that next opportunity rolls around. So that's why when I keep saying this is a big deal for me, it's like, it's not even just a big deal because it's Kara. It's a big deal because it was a thing that I really wanted at one time and didn't get. And I just kept going with what I was doing anyways. Forget about that interview. There's other people, there's other interviews, there's other things that I can do. And somehow, I feel like through staying active and doing these other things is why that opportunity came back around to me. Hi, Cass. Timing is always the key. It never seems to be mine, but it always seems right. Well, that's the whole thing. Every one of these stories that I'm telling you, none of them are like, I wanted this and I got it. There's no story like that. There's very few. I mean, there's a few, but it's rare. Like, hey, I just wanted this thing and then I just got it because I wanted it. No, most of these stories are like, I wanted it and there was a delay. There was something that delayed me from getting that thing that I want. And then it orbited back to me after a while. But I'm telling you, if I had said, hey, Kara, can I get this interview? She says, yeah, let's do this interview next week. I'm telling you, the quality of interview that you get would be way different, would be way less. If I had asked Sam right after she won, hey, Sam, can I get this interview? She says yes right away. The quality of that interview is not going to be the quality of what you got. There's this race that I do every year, my favorite race that I do every year, called High Rocks. I did the first one they ever had in New York City. And I did it almost every year since, except for 2020, because 2020 they didn't have it due to COVID. But every year I was able to buy my ticket with a couple of weeks to go, a month to go. But the race became very popular, and I'm wrapping this up actually. But the race became very popular. Hi, Chocolate. And this year was the first time I couldn't do it in New York City because they sold out within a month. It got super popular. And I was so disappointed because I love that race. It's my favorite thing to do. And it comes around like once a year for me at this point. I mean, they do it in other places, in other cities and states and countries, but in New York, it started to become like a once a year thing. It used to be twice a year. So I decided to go just to watch. And I went over there, and watching was torturous for me. I thought, oh, you know what? It's going to be an opportunity for me to get inspired, to watch other people. I really felt envious. That's how I felt. I was like, I envy these people who get to do this. And it was the first outdoor one in New York. I was at the first outdoor one in Miami in 2023, and this was going to be the first outdoor one in New York in 2024. I didn't get to go, like I said. So I could have like moped around and said, man, I've raced this race every year for the past 3 years. This is the first year. Oh, wait a minute. 2024. This year, yeah. Yeah, so this is the first year that I didn't get to do this. And I raced it twice, as a matter of fact, in 2022 and 2023. 2021, I did Los Angeles. 2022, I did 2 in New York. 2023, I did 1 in Miami and 1 in New York. And 2024, I didn't get to go. So I was like, I guess I'm going to do this next year. Then all of a sudden, the same race pops up. They're doing it for the first time ever in Toronto. I said, this aligns beautifully because it's right on my birthday weekend. And I always try to do a race for the past, I don't know how many years, 5, 6 years now. I try to do a race every year on my birthday or around my birthday. So I said, it's in Toronto. So I have an opportunity to like go to Canada because I have my annual trip to Canada. I get to do the first Hyrox race they've ever had over there. And, I get to see my family. So I was like, this is perfect. So I bought that ticket as soon as I could. And then I said to myself, I don't just want to go. I want to make this the best time that I've ever done the race. So I went into this heavy running training schedule, heaviest running training schedule that I ever did in my life, because I was so hungry. The reason why I was so hungry to get the best time that I've ever done is because I missed it. The last time I had gotten to do the race was June of 2023. And June of 2023, July, August, September, October, 16 months ago. And I was doing these races every 4 to 6 months at a point. And I had to wait for 16 months because of that last one being sold out. So I said, man, I'm going to use this extra time and I want to just turbocharge my training. I want to get my eating on point. Like I want to get to that race and smash the last best time that I ever did. And I did. And I got there. My time for that race was 30 minutes faster than the last time that I did it. The last time I did it was 2 hours and 37 minutes. And this time was 2 hours and 7 minutes. And that time wouldn't have happened if I had done that New York race, because in that New York race, I wasn't in that type of shape. And it would be a feeling of, you know what, I'm just going to go in there just to be able to do this thing that I enjoy and cross the finish line. I felt hungry. I had a passion for that thing. I was like, I'm not just going just to show up. I'm going to do an amazing time because I know what it's like not to get what I want in the timing that I want it. And that's the way that I feel about this Cara interview. Because I didn't get it 3 years ago, I keep telling y'all this, but I feel hungry to make this interview the best thing that I've ever done to this point. People told me that my Sam interview was the best interview they've seen me do. I want to say it wasn't my last interview. I think I did one more after that, but a lot of people told me that they think that's my best work. My aim is to top that. I mean, my aim of every interview is to top the last one, but my aim for this one is to top the last one. So anyways, to wrap it up, you guys don't even realize you basically get unpolished versions of speeches that I give, because I give speeches like once a month. So you guys get the unpolished versions, because the way how I come up with a speech is the same way how I'm talking to you right now. I'll be having a conversation with somebody and I'm like, that's my topic right there. And I'll just think about it a little bit more, revise it, get my speech together a little bit, polish it a little bit more. And that's my whole speech. So I give you guys basically the rough draft version of my motivational speeches. This is really going to be a speech for real in 2025. The day you plant the seed is not the same day you eat the fruit. So if you don't get it right now, think of it as a delay rather than a denial. Even if it's a no, maybe there's something better. Maybe that same thing will circle back around as I've told you it has for me. Or maybe it won't, and there will be something even better in its place. Have you ever heard of those people who are like, I tried out for such and such acting role, and I put everything into this, and I thought that this was going to be my big chance. Then they chose this other person over me, and I wanted to give up. And then this next role came around that I was never expecting, and I was like, I guess I could do that. And then now we know them as the person who did that really popular role, you know? There's power in positive thinking and not giving up. I think that's where I'm going to end it. I'm going to end it right there. Let's see. I've learned to be patient with the right timing. That's very good advice. I had problems with beating myself up over the delay of things. Yes, that's my biggest. I'm not even saying that I don't do that. I still do that now. There's still things that I want right now. By the way, let me check and see if I happen to get a repost. Probably not. But yeah, there's things that I still want right now that I'm not getting yeses to. These things that I want right now are predominantly things relating to work, not relating to this kind of stuff, but like 9 to 5 type of things that I'm trying to get to, that I've gotten a few denials for lately. But I'm trying to say the same thing. Like, maybe that opportunity that I want right now is not the best for me for whatever reason. And whatever that thing is that is supposed to be the thing that I'm doing is going to pop up for me. And I'm going to be like, no wonder I didn't get accepted into this, or this person didn't call me for that interview. Show up and show out. The rough drafts is appreciated. Great idea. Jinx, you owe me a soda. Seen any drones yet? Yeah, like, so maybe that thing. Oh yeah, and speaking of the challenge, the amount of people that I've asked for a challenge interview. It's so funny that nobody has told me yes for a challenge. I semi count Alyssa Lopez a little bit as a challenge interview, because she did do an episode, 2 seasons of the Challenge USA, but I don't necessarily count those at the same time. I count that as more of a Big Brother interview. because that's more what she's known for. Um, and I don't think she competed against challengers, if I'm not mistaken. I think that was those seasons where they had people from those crossover shows. But the only person that I ever got to do a challenge interview for me specifically was Wes. Because technically you could put Ayana in that category. Technically you could put Alyssa in that category. And technically you could put John in that category. But Wes is the only real like challenge person. I mean, I don't want to say technically because I think John did about 4 seasons of the challenge, and I think Ayana did about 5 or 6 seasons of the challenge, and even she did a recent one. So she is a challenger. But I guess what I'm trying to say is like I asked a lot of people who are predominantly known for the challenge, and they either didn't answer or they told me no. And it's funny, the 2 people that I would get are my 2 favorite challengers ever, because Wes is my favorite male challenger ever, and I got 2 interviews with him. And Kara is my favorite female challenger ever. Did I ask who? Alyssa? Any challenge questions? Yeah, a few. I mostly went through Big Brother, but then I asked her a few questions about the Challenge USA. Is that really the time? Sheesh. Yeah, it's almost midnight. Anyways, y'all, thanks for joining me. Thanks for joining my TED Talk. And please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell to get notified when I drop some more great content. I'll update y'all whenever that John and Beth interview drops on Spotify and whatever. I guess they're on probably all podcast platforms. Do y'all listen to podcasts? Well, if you don't listen to podcasts, please listen to that one. I would appreciate it when it comes out. What else do I have going on? I think that's pretty much it that I've got for this week. Unless I decide to pop in for the Survivor finale party, which seems like the thing to do, but payday is Wednesday, event is Wednesday. So it's really a matter of if it sells out, I can't go. But if there's still tickets available on Wednesday, I'll probably buy a ticket. This $600 holdup that happened at my job also severely impacted that. So I'm pissed about that still, but I'm pissed. Inside joke if you don't remember or didn't see last season of Survivor with Liz. Liz will live on forever in my head. Talk to y'all soon.